All right, I want to welcome everybody to this training call this Saturday morning. It is a wonderful day here in Florida. It's actually not raining for the first time in a long time, so that's exciting. Anyway, we are very, very happy that you've decided to give up a little bit of your time this morning to sit down and listen with us and maybe think about when this gets recorded enough to get it to your downline. We hopefully think that it will be useful to not only the new people, but also the people that have been around for a while, to give them a little bit of guidance or to remind them a little bit about how to get people excited and how to create a little bit of momentum within their group. So if you're interested in doing this kind of things, but still starting at a very basic level, then this training is for you. First off, when you bring a brand new person in, you have somebody that you just sponsored yesterday. What's the first thing you want them to do? I know a lot of people say, well, they need to create a list. No, that's not the first thing that you want them to do. What's the very first thing you want them to do when they've joined you in this business? You want them to determine why they joined, what they want out of this business. Certainly, they can be a wholesale customer and be there for years and just be a customer, and that's fine. That is perfectly, absolutely fine. I got a lot of people like that. However, we're talking about it as a business, which means you're going to be sharing this with other people. So why would you do that? What is your reason? Everybody's got a different one. Maybe you want the home. Maybe you want the retirement account. Maybe you want to put kids through school. Maybe you want the new car. You want better vacations. You want to retire your spouse from the workforce. You want to retire yourself from the workforce, maybe. You know, the really neat thing is I've been retired from the military now for 21 years, and I've never, ever had to go and get employed working for someone else other than myself, looking at myself in the mirror saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. And if I wasn't making enough, I needed to get motivated. I needed to get a bigger why that would drive me. So somebody's got to come up with the why. And I mean the real why. Not just, I want to make a lot of money. That doesn't work. You got to have something a little more personal. And it's going to change very possibly over the course of weeks, months, or even years in the business. So determine your why. And make sure that your sponsor knows your why so that they can help keep you accountable to that why. Now, the second thing you got to do is something that I know everybody's heard. Everybody talks and tells everybody else to do it, but most people don't do it. What is that? It's to create a list. Because if you don't have a list in this business, you're dead in the water. Period. People say, oh, well, I know so-and-so, and I know Johnny, and I know Sally, and I know Fred, and I know this person, and I'm going to call all those people, and that ain't going to work. That ain't going to work. So just get it in your brain. You got to have a list. Now, how do you create that list? Now, people of today have got all these electronic gadgets that have got all kinds of names and numbers. I mean, the old-fashioned world that I was brought up in, what did you have? You had an address book. You know, you maybe had some type of a roster. You pulled out a phone book and you went to the yellow pages and you started going down A, B, C, D and asked yourself, who do I know that's a carpenter or a lawyer or an accountant or whatever the A what you were on and the business that you were on. And it's amazing how many people we could come up with, you know, but you can get them from your phone. How many people have got, you know, contacts on their phone? Everybody's got some contacts. I've seen people that had 200, 300, 400 contacts on their phone, you know, but I still suggest that they take that and put it on a list. Now, they may type it out on a notepad or something on the computer, but then they print it out because if you don't have a list in front of you, you don't know who to call. You can't do it. So create that list, put a bunch of people on it, and everybody says, well, how many people? And you've heard people say, put 10 people, start with 10 people, go to 20, put 100, put 300. Look, this is a business. And if your why is great enough, then you're not going to worry about the number. The number is sort of, it's something that doesn't make a lot of difference as long as you have honestly created your list. And, you know, I've sat down with people and they put less than 10 people on a list, or they put 20 people on a list, and they go, wow, this is all I got to work with. Yeah, I can understand why that person would be upset. I really can. Because what are they going to do after they contact those 10 or 20 people, which they can do in a day or two? Then nobody gets in. Oh, shucks. Well, create a list. You can sit down with anybody. I've done it on the phone. I've done it in person. You can help anybody create a very large list of people. Somebody who's never been in this business before, as far as in Aegea, then they've got a lot of people that they know, and a lot of people that they can write down on that list if you'll just help them. And you know what? One of the best, easiest ways I know, outside of having them just go to their phone, go to their email, go to any rosters that they have in the house or address books they have in the house. If they still can't come up with 100 people's names, then no, that's probably an indication that they're a little bit afraid. So sit down with them, whether it's in person or on the phone, and help them create that list and get them going in the right direction. I'm not saying you got to have stay on the phone with them until they have 100 people written down or anything, but I've taken so many people that couldn't put 10 or 20 people down on the list, talk to them for 15 minutes, have them just pull out an old-fashioned phone book and go to the yellow pages and started taking business by business by business and asking them, who do you know that's this? Who do you know that's that? And all of a sudden they're starting to click, and they're saying, well, yeah, I do. I know this person. I know that person. This person just did work for me. And all of a sudden they start understanding they're creating a list. You don't have to stay on the phone with them the whole time or stay in their presence of the whole time that they're doing that. They'll get it. And then within that day, they'll have a sizable list of people to start talking to. So first thing you got to do, determine your why. Second thing is create that list. And you know what? If your why is big enough, you'll create a big enough list. So another thing. Third thing, how do you expose these people now that you've created this list from? There's all kinds of ways to expose people. Well, the problem is sometimes your sponsor or your upline that's helping you, they think only one-dimensional, the one thing that they like. And I'm going to talk about the way that I like contacting and working with people the best, but I'm open to all of these things. So let's just, I jotted down a few of them just to remind myself as to how many different ways we could expose the people that are on the list. Well, first one is real easy. One-on-one, sit down, have a cup of coffee with them. You know, whether you go to Hardee's and have that cup of coffee, or better yet, they come over to your house or you go to their house and you make one of our energy coffees now and sit there and talk to them and just one-on-one. That's the oldest fashioned way of building the network marketing business. But you know what? It works. May not be for everybody, but it works. May not work for you. Maybe you've got people all the way across the country. You can't sit down with them. That's okay. We'll get to other ways. Maybe it's a two-on-one. Maybe the person is brand new and they're scared. You sponsored your neighbor or somebody else in the neighborhood or your city. Could you go over there and have a cup of coffee with them and their prospect and build a rapport with that prospect? And expose them to our products and business? Certainly you can. Now, both of these ways do take up some time, and you're only talking to one person, but it works for some people. Some people, that's the way they're the most comfortable in doing things. The second way is something that I know that I've done literally thousands of these, and they were what we call PBRs, private business receptions. This is done back when we were running around all over the place, all over the world actually, with whiteboards in our hand, and people were inviting people over to their homes, and now they're called home meetings or they're called parties or whatever they're called. They get a group of people together, and their sponsor upline would come in and do a presentation, introduce the products and the opportunity to that group of people, then get with them one-on-one after that, answer their questions and help find out and sort through the people and find out which ones were ready to go and help get them signed up. That is certainly still a viable way of introducing people to the business. Very, very quickly, it's very similar as having that coffee party. or combining these two as a coffee party and a private business reception. Now, having a group of people over and presenting our coffee as one of the products that gives us all the time in the world to be able to talk about some of the other products, demonstrate some of the other products. I'll tell you, one of the best things, and I don't think I ever got out of somebody's presence that I was talking to about the business without a demonstration of the quantum card. You take that quantum card and do a muscle test or a kinesiology test with that person, they are instantaneously a believer that there's something special about our products. They may not understand them. They don't understand quantum physics, and I don't either, but I know that it works, and I know how easy it is to impress upon somebody the power of our products just by a simple demonstration like that. And of course, after they've had their coffee, they have in a better mood, that's pretty awesome. So doing presentations in small group settings in your home is a great way. I know some people use hotels as their groups get bigger and bigger, and somebody can come in and do a presentation. That would certainly work. You can text people these days. I'm not a big texter. I'm not that high speed of a person in electronics and stuff, but some people will sit there and text people all day long. Some of the people you have in your phones probably don't even want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you if you're a relative of you sometimes. They'd rather text you. I mean, I've heard stories of people sitting across from each other in a restaurant texting each other instead of sitting there having a conversation. I don't quite get that, but there are certain people that way. So use texting for those type of people. Just try to match up what will work with the person, and of all these different things that we have that are in our arsenal to be able to expose people. Email is a great way. But you know what? I always like to caution people is that I would prefer, but this is my preference, is that if I'm wanting to talk to Joe, then I want to call and talk to Joe and then send him the information in the email. But a lot of times we have a lot of contacts possibly in our email addresses that we just don't have their phone numbers on. So we'll have to reach out to them strictly through that email way. And of course, our webinars. We have some great opportunity webinars done on Tuesday evenings. And to be able to bring people to something like that, sometimes it's a first exposure. Usually it's a second and or even a third exposure to our business, giving it more and more credibility, which is another awesome way of being able to talk to people about the business. Now, my favorite, and this works for me, and hopefully it'll work for you. It helps people. Used to be years ago, people would ask, well, how much time do I have to give up to build this business? And what was the normal answer? An hour or 2 hours a day? And the reality is, if you were going to build it quickly, then it was going to take more than that. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. You can use our technology, and you can use some proven things that we know that work. What I do, and what I try to at least teach people to do, and they can certainly do it or use one of these other venues. That's perfectly fine with me. I'll support people in any way that they want to build their business. But it's just to do a 3-minute phone call. How long does it take, by the way, to do a 3-minute phone call? Everybody guess. 3 minutes, right? So it takes you 3 minutes to do a 3-minute phone call. What do you do in that 3-minute phone call? And by the way, it can be shorter than 3 minutes. You call your somebody from your list. Maybe they're a friend, maybe they're a relative. It doesn't make any difference. You tell them that you're excited about something and that you'd like to share some information with them, and ask them that if you were to send that information to them, let's say by email as an example that I do quite often, would they review it and then give you their opinion? That's so easy to do. Be excited when you're talking to them, and people love to give their opinion. They'd love to talk. So if you just say, I want your opinion, they'll be, okay. Send them that information, schedule a time to give them a call back. That whole call should be done in 3 minutes or less. If you're taking more than 3 minutes to do that phone call, you are on the phone too long. If they're starting to ask questions, well, what's this about or that about, and you're trying to answer them, you're doing the wrong thing on this 3-minute phone call. You just want to put the information in their hands. The second call is to answer the questions after they have some information, and they can come and have a real conversation, a legitimate conversation with you, an intelligent conversation with you. With that being said, you schedule a time to give them a call back. Hopefully it's in 72 hours or less. It could very well be later that day or the next day. Those are preferences. The sooner you can get back to them, the better off you are. We know that every day that goes by, every 24-hour period of time that goes by from the time that they're exposed to something new or information, is that their retention goes down and down and down. It's by the third or after the third day, and you're talking to somebody who looked at something 3 days earlier, they forgot what they looked at, half of it. They really can't come up with a good question and have a good conversation with you. So ask them, when are you going to be able to look at it? And then we can talk right afterwards. On that call, there are 2 ways of doing it. You can handle it yourself, and if you've got the experience and you've been successful in sponsoring a number of people, then you may find that you can do that yourself. I think now that as of the other day, I've got like 95 people that I've personally sponsored. I'm pretty good at talking to people. And by the way, well over 90% of those people actually became active with at least their initial orders. So, but quite often, and what is more powerful is to have an upline that you can do a 3-way phone call with. How long does a 3-way phone call last? Well, it depends. You know, sometimes it's over with in 5 minutes, and sometimes it'll take 20 minutes. I don't really care. It takes as long as necessary. When you introduce your sponsor, you just simply 3-way somebody in that's you've exposed to that information. You call them, you're excited again, saying hello, introduce the person that you have on the phone that you want to talk to. You don't have to glorify them, but simply tell them that they know a lot more about the products, they've been involved in the opportunity and the company and have been very successful. Boom. And if you've told something to the person that is going to do the 3-way with you about the person that they're going to talk to, it will help that person to establish a quick rapport with that person and get them to like them, because they're not going to be as open until they figure out whether they like you or not. So you've got to build that rapport. The faster and the quicker or the easier you can do that, the better off you are. So that is the way that I like to do it, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it all those ways that we have talked about. Once you have determined your why, created your list, and you've started to introduce people on that list, what do? You got to duplicate that. You've got to duplicate that in the people that join with you. And you know what? I don't care what anybody says. Doing this business fast is so much easier than doing it slow and methodical, and it becomes boring. Look, spend time. If your why is big enough, spend a little time and get excited and talk to a whole bunch of people. Keep the notes that you got next to your list of people that you got, you know, and you're jotting down and you're following up, and you're making 10, 15 calls a day. I don't care if you got a full-time job, you can do 10 or 15 calls if your why is big enough. You just can. You know, well, I'm busy, or I'm this, or I'm tired. Well, your why isn't big enough. So you want to go build it slow? You'll build it slow. You'll find that you don't create momentum in your group. If you do it fast and you got some momentum and you go, well, I don't like to do this. You know what? That's not a requirement, is not to like something to be successful in it. It's required of you to do the things necessary to get the kind of momentum and the success that you want, and to get your why fulfilled. If you do that, all of a sudden you're going to find out that, I like doing this. This is fun. I guarantee you. You find somebody that doesn't like to talk to people, and you get them to talk to some people, and all of a sudden they got a group of 50, 100 people, and they're growing. I bet they like this all of a sudden. They like talking to people. They get used to it. They really, truly will. So liking to do some of these things that we do is not necessary. Everybody here has probably had a job at one time or another. I certainly did in the military. Do you think I liked everything about the military and everything I was told to do and had to do? Absolutely not. But it was something I had to do. So understand, if your why is big enough, the have to will get you through it all. Okay? Now, as you do this and you duplicate this process, determine your people's why, create the list, expose the people, get those people that came in to do this exact same thing, whichever direction and way that we've talked about that they would like to do it, or maybe a combination of all of them. Teaching them, those people. You got to teach people to teach people to teach. Think about that. You've got to teach people, the people that you get, to teach people this simple, duplicatable process to teach people to teach. That will take care of the going down. And the thing is you're teaching not only your people that you sponsor, but you should be teaching the people that they bring in. And as the person that you originally brought in sees this, they get better at teaching as well. So it's teach people to teach people to teach. And if you'll do that and get this simple process going, don't make it complicated. Make it simple for somebody. The easier you can make something, the more that you can enroll the activity to accomplish what it is that needs to be accomplished to get their why as far as that goes. Now, let's say that we've got a group of people. I don't care if you've sponsored 3 people or you sponsored 10, and maybe you have 4 or 5 or maybe 50, maybe 100, eventually maybe thousands of people in your organization. Learn to work with those that earn it by their actions. I think that's the hardest thing that I had to learn in network marketing. I always wanted it more for somebody else than they wanted it for themselves. And it's because you see the potential in the person. And you think, I've got to help. I got to get the phone call, and I've got to call them, and I've got to motivate them, and I've got to, go over to their home, or I've got to do this. No. You have to be there for the people that are going to earn your attention by their actions, not their words. How many people have had people that told you continuously how they were going to go build a business? They were going to do this. They were going to do that. They're going to tear it up. Go by actions, not words. And understand that sometimes you got to let some people go. You're going to be there. I've had people that woke up 6 months later and went out and built a business, and then I could be there for them again. So it wasn't that I wasn't going to be there for them. It's just that you got to quit pursuing somebody and wasting your time and hurting yourself mentally. So work with those that earn it. Again, you can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves. Now, there are 3 different modes I like to try to explain to people in the business. And by modes, I mean that there's 3 different primary things that we're going to be doing as topics. One is sponsoring mode. By the way, always stay in the sponsoring mode. Always. I mean, that is your lifeblood of your business. You're always looking for the next person that really gets turned on, that you can help get to and achieve their why. That is so much fun. Stay in the sponsoring mode. And if you stay in the sponsoring mode, your people will be more enrolled in the sponsoring mode. You've got to set that example. You've got to do that. If you don't continue to sponsor and talk to people, then you will die yourself in the business, okay? Because all of a sudden people will start looking at you as, well, they're not doing what they've told us that we have to do. So you've got to stay in that mode. Second thing is, eventually, as you've got time. Remember, we talked about teach people to teach people to teach. Well, after you've gotten several people and you've heard your sponsor or upline person that you've been working with teaching these people how to do the things simply that we do and to get some momentum going, then you're going to have to start teaching people to do exactly the same thing. See, that's the enrollment process. It's not just putting them in the business and letting them go and do the work part, the contacting and inviting. You also got to bring that person along to the point where they can help teach the group that they're directly impacting as far as sponsoring into it. So that's the second mode. What's the third mode? And this is the mode that everybody wants to get to, and the longer you can put it off, the better off you are. And that is the management mode. Everybody wants to go, well, I'm going to 3, 4, 5 people. I'm going to manage them. I'm going to get them to do this, and I'm going to get them to do that. You are absolutely in the wrong mode at that point. Okay? Management mode is something that you want to push off, you know, till you have hundreds or even thousands of people in your downline, because somebody else in your upline should be, or even in the company, should be doing at least the basics of the managing. But you're going to have to help manage people. You know, when you sponsor some people and then they sponsor some people and all of a sudden they've got groups of 50, 100, 1,000 people, you can't treat that person that started that group the same as you did when you sponsored them. They're totally different people now. And you've got to know how to manage and work with those people. Now, maybe you're also going out and doing presentations and trainings for the weekends, for Super Saturdays, area events, regional events, helping out at national events, calling and getting other speakers online, and you're doing all that management stuff. You want to hold that down to 2 things. One, stay out of it as much as you can and postpone it as much as you can. And if you are involved in it, that should be 10 or 20% maximum of your business. Most of it should be staying in that sponsoring and helping others do that type of thing. That's where you should be staying most of the time. Now, so what do we got to do? Determine people's why. Create a list. Expose the people. Teach people to teach people to teach by duplicating that process. And the faster that you do it, the better off you are, the more fun it is, and the easier it is. Work with those people that have earned your attention, you know, that are doing the deal, doing what they said that they would do long after the emotion that they said it has left. Now that is important. That's when you know somebody's got some commitment, is that they're doing what they said they would do long after the time that they said it or the emotion had left them. That's something that I was taught by a man years and years ago. And I'll tell you, that's the kind of person that you're looking for. So always stay in that sponsoring mode, always be there for your people. This was a relatively short, but hopefully direct, and hopefully everybody gets something out of it. I'm hoping also that because it is short and to the point, and what I believe would really help a lot of people, especially new people, that you'll be able to send them to the website and listen to this. It should be uploaded to YouTube very quickly. Get this into their hands, and maybe they'll spend a few minutes and listening to it. Okay, so I appreciate it. I do. I very much appreciate all of y'all's time coming here today, and hopefully you'll get this information in everybody's hands and you found it to be useful to you, and you'll find it hopefully to be useful to your group. Y'all have a wonderful day. Y'all take care. Thank you, and bye-bye.